So let's move on. Let's talk about transportation. We have several viewers who are concerned about this. One of them is quite direct about it. Why are Republicans so against funding roads? I assume this viewer from Hastings means raising taxes. Another viewer is concerned about increasing the gas tax. What's going to happen? I think that viewer is less enthusiastic about it. So let's talk about transportation. Let's start with you, Representative Carlson.
Well, I said at the beginning of the session, before I knew about railroads as an issue, which developed about a month ago in my area, when I was interviewed and we had a couple of local meetings, I said, well, one of the biggest issues of the session was going to be transportation, if not perhaps the biggest issue. And I think that's playing out. There are at least three major plans that are coming forward, and I suspect in the end it'll probably be a blending of those. I'm a little bit concerned about the plan that some are advocating where you use general fund dollars, at least a large block of general fund dollars. First of all, we've got really a 10-year problem at least, and that doesn't necessarily solve the problem long term. And I think that has to be part of the discussion. And the other thing is, if you start using a lot of general fund dollars, that puts transportation for the first time in a major way in competition with dollars for K-12 education, higher education, and so on, those kinds of things that have traditionally been funded through the general fund. But I would predict in the end there will be a transportation bill, and I suspect it'll probably be a blending of some general funds, some bonding, and perhaps then, if not the gas tax increase, perhaps in license tabs or some form of a user fee, which has been our tradition. But it's hard to predict exactly what that ultimate compromise is going to be. But I think that there's broad interest in doing something in the area of transportation, and I hope we end up doing something that's meaningful that will resolve the issue for the next decade.
Senator Westrom?
Well, the transportation bill tomorrow in the Senate, we are discussing just that. Senate File 87 is a...
Our viewers are on top of things. They're ahead of you guys.
They are.
Go ahead.
But we've been discussing it in pieces up to this point, but that is a mammoth bill. It is a 16 cents a gallon minimum increase, and it would go up if fuel goes over $2.50. That is the floor that they set in the new way of collecting it, this would be a gross receipts sales tax, 6.5%, and that would be a new thing in Minnesota, which captures and raises if the gas prices go up, but it then sets the floor at $2.50. So if gas goes below $2.50 like we see now and have had a joyful experience in filling up our tanks, you still get to pay $2.50 worth of gas tax. And so I think it's too big of a plan. 16 cents would be the largest gas tax increase we've had in several decades, probably ever in the state of Minnesota. And that's what the 6.5% sales tax would equate to, plus a license tab fee increase. And so the Republicans would like to use the $2 billion surplus and then make a major investment and dedicate some of the sales tax that we get from roads and vehicle type expenditures. And I think you're going to see a proposal come out next week of significant investment from Republican caucuses, but to invest the $2 billion surplus into roads and infrastructure rather than raise taxes and still have a $2 billion surplus that we saw taxes raised 2 years ago, and now we've got a generous surplus. And so we'd like to use that as well as reform. There is very little discussion about environmental permitting reform. It came up at my town meetings some weeks back. If a road is already in existence, why do we have to spend much time environmentally reviewing it to figure out how it's going to affect the environment? Because we already know that answer. And so those are some reforms that should be done to stretch the dollars we have currently further before we just add more, many more millions into the system.
Sure. Well, I think, the first person said, well, why are Republicans so afraid of raising taxes? And I with Tori had town hall meetings just the last week or 2 weeks ago. And I talked to a lot of folks that are on township boards and county boards and folks that are locally represented. And and folks that travel quite a bit. I represent a large district. I've got a lot of constituents that drive 60 miles a day. And they're not driving for top-paying jobs either. And so they've been exceptionally. One thing that was probably heard of every day is saying, we appreciate the gas prices going down. I said I didn't really have anything to do with that. I think there's a few other things going on with that. But people definitely appreciated the few extra dollars in their pocketbook. But I think when they look at what's going on at the state level, and they see, we've got some large surpluses going up and beyond what our current spending is. They don't always see that themselves, and I think we need to really tread carefully as we're making this decision. I'm probably a Republican that would say that the gas tax. I don't think the timing is right. I think we need to make a general commitment. I think most folks would say that even if we raise a tax, there are still going to be needs out there beyond that. So why don't we look at other options, other transportation-related dollars that are out there that are going into the general fund, and dedicate those first, and make a commitment to transportation and go from there. I think there'll be a lot of discussion over the next few weeks, and I agree with Representative Carlson. It's been a big part of the conversation so far, and it's going to continue to be until May. So we'll see where it all goes to there. So.